Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another broadcast, another ESL Open Cup Americas broadcast here on the CranKy Ducklings. I'm, of course, your site VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat and by these amazing players as well. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to something a little bit different. As of late, as of recently, we have been missing out on ESL Open Cup Americas. It's been a shame. This is your, weekly Open Cup here in the Americas region, and we usually cast it live. We usually do cast it live, but recently, of course, I have been a little bit under the weather, and I have been limiting my casts. I've been limiting my casts only one a day. One, maybe two at most. But because I've been limiting myself, because I've been slowly recovering, we have been missing out on some live broadcasts, and we are here to catch up. We're here to catch up on what has been going on over the past couple of days, as these replays are a couple of days old. 2 days old, actually. 2 days old. You may have already seen these matches live a couple of days ago. If so, I do ask you to avoid putting spoilers in the chat, because spoilers will be banned, and I'm here at least, and I'm sure many people are here to experience this for the first time. For the very first time here, ESL Open Cup Americas 222. Starting next week, I should be able to cast it live. I should be able to cast it, live at the time. And I may start doing the EU Open Cups. I may be hosting those replay casts next week instead. We'll see, because Thursdays are going to be open for casting. And I think usually we do GSL on those days, but I know GSL is currently going on as well. There's a lot of StarCraft going on nowadays, so it's hard to kind of squeeze things in, but regardless, some really good matches were held, and I want to sink my teeth into what we have to offer. As up first, we have Clem versus NightMare. Let's go. The great thing here about ESL Open Cup Americas is because of its time slot, it's actually not a bad time for all the regions except for Europe. I know that the European players, they have to stay up until 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning to actually compete, especially if they make it all the way to the finals. They're up deep late into the night, so it is brutal for them, and usually the only Europeans that we see play in ESL Americas are the D-Gens. Players like Clem, players like MaxPax, players like Wayne, Geralt as well. Those are usually the players that are willing to just sacrifice their sleep schedule, or maybe their sleep schedule is already adjusted to this and they just stay up until like 6, 7 a.m. and just play StarCraft. They're crazy, but they're crazy. Shaking my head. Unfortunately, there's a lot of players that aren't like that, so we don't get to see Rain or in ESL Americas. We don't get to see Showtime, for example, Hero Marine, Spirit. Those, the players I just mentioned, they're not ones that typically stay up for ESL Americas. Like they go to bed like regular humans, Pappy. They're animals. Shaking my head. But yeah, it's always great to see Clem, MaxPax, Wayne, and Geralt always duke it out amongst the Koreans and amongst the Americans as well. That's what's always a little good fun about ESL Americas. And we start things off with the TvP with Clem and NightMare. Oh boy. Meanwhile, was this tournament on Monday? It was on Monday/Tuesday, depending on where you are. It was Tuesday for us, I think Monday for the Americas, so a couple of days old, just as a heads up. But of course, we're getting into our first series, into our first best of 3. I will be hosting a viewer replay cast after this as well, as we have been accumulating some viewer replays over the past couple of weeks, and it's time. It's time to flex them. It's time to showcase them. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I'm worried. Oh boy. I'm tentatively looking forward to it, so we'll see what happens after the ESL Americas cast. For now, we're diving into game number 1. It's going to be on Crimson Court. Let's go. Also, welcome everyone in the chat. I do see Frost, I see Soundo, I see Lunacy as well. Annyeonghaseyo. Welcome. And here we go, we're diving into game number 1, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Crimson Court, we have the Red Terran player representing Team Liquid. And from the land of France, it is Clem. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss representing himself, currently teamless, it is NightMare. Here we go. Ooh, and slowly I'm just catching up. It looks like we just got an announcement. Apparently Night Phoenix joined a new team, joined Astronaut Esports. let's go. NightMare has been teamless for quite some... Sorry, I said NightMare. My apologies. I was looking at something else. Night Phoenix, not NightMare, joined a new team as of a couple of minutes ago. Joined... apparently Astro Esports. So yeah, really good to see Astronaut Esports, that he's able to be supported by a team out there. NightMare is still teamless, if I'm not mistaken, and it's honestly pretty disappointing that that NightMare wasn't picked up by a WTL team. A lot of players were picked up in the lead up to WTL. NightMare was not one of them. It is a little bit sad to see. I'm also a little bit surprised that Maturino did not bolster their roster. Maturino didn't pick up any other players to replace NightMare either. So NightMare is one of those players out there that unfortunately is without a team and is still looking for one and is still deserving to be on a team as well. Like NightMare, he is an amazing player. We've seen him pop off. Like, he has some of the best PvP in South Korea. We've seen him take down Creator, Hero, Classic, Stats, you name it, Protoss, and NightMare has most likely beaten them. Likewise, NightMare's PvT is world class as well. Usually whenever we cast NightMare, I always have like the preface here that like he has like godlike PvP and PvT. What NightMare struggles in most is PvZ. Against Zerg, NightMare, he does stumble a little bit. Against the Korean Zergs like Shin, like Solar, like Dark, like DRG, that is the matchup that he does look to improve in the most out of all of them. The others, he seems to have it down. But now he's up against Clem. Clem, one of the best Terrans in the world, was looking so hot coming into 2024. Has lapsed a little bit. I do think that post DreamHack Atlanta, we were all hailing Clem as the best Terran in the world. And then Maru decided to try. then Maru's like, hold up, you know, I can't be outdone here. And then, of course, we all had preparation for IM Katowice. And yeah, we've seen a lot of the Terran players step up post DreamHack Atlanta, and it's been great to see the rate of improvement from everyone involved. Likewise, I'm curious to see where Clem lies among them and how he does compare to NightMare in current meta, in current StarCraft. Again, because like it's such a shame. I got sick just as the patch landed, so in the latest patch and in the latest map pool, I haven't been casting as much as I usually am, so I feel left out. Like, I've been missing ESL Americas, I've been missing ESL Asia. I do feel like I've been missing out on quite a lot, so I'm excited. I want some more StarCraft. I want to see how things have changed. Just for now, it is going to be an economic opener. It was a Rax expand into a factory starport follow-up here, into our 1-1-1. So Clem just settling in towards the mid-game. Looks like we're setting up for even a mine drop, as we have a Widow Mine on the way. Meanwhile, behind this, our tech of choice is going to be a Twilight Council from NightMare is going into Blink. Looking at the vision of Clem, he has yet to determine the tech of choice, but he will see the gateway explosion. This will confirm that it is going to be a Twilight Council based play. 2 gateways here at the natural, 1 gateway in the main, 3 gates in total, so 3 gate Blink out of NightMare. And Clem, he will confirm the upgrade in production. Trades a Hellion for 1 probe. Not the best trade, but more importantly, we scattered everything. That's what's important here, is that Clem now knows what's going on. He now knows that he can, of course, be a little bit more careless, or he doesn't have to focus too much when it comes to defending his mineral lines. He knows that he is safe and sound from Phoenix harass. He can move out. And so it's going to take a little bit here before NightMare can be active with his Blink Stalkers, and the Clem is going for his drop. Now, as we're going for the drop behind this, we're getting into tank production as quickly as possible. We have some good SimCity here outside of Crimson, or in Crimson Court as well, in the main base. Again, very important to get into tank production because of those Blink Stalkers. We need tanks and bunkers. Meanwhile, it was only 3 gate Blink, and we're not even applying too much pressure. We're skipping warp ins, and as a result, we have enough money for a 3rd base and a bay as well. So rushing into a 3rd and a bay, getting in towards the mid game. NightMare not being aggressive at all. You can see Clem, he's ready for a Blink into the main base, and there isn't one coming, as he's poised to go for the drop. Basically what's happening here is that Clem, he's waiting for the Stalkers to move out to apply pressure. Once they do, then we can drop. So Clem, he's waiting to pull the trigger. He's waiting to get eyes on those Stalkers, because then he will know he's not that NightMare's not at home to defend. Here we go, the Stalkers, they have revealed themselves. Now we're going in. That was the trigger point. And Clem, he's going for the main base, but we did leave some Stalkers at home to defend. We have 3. Blink is done. We're going for the medevac. Oh, the retarding. Oh my god. Interesting, as the medevac does go down. We do avoid that. We do barely avoid that Widow Mine shot. Boys are being pulled. We get 2 probe kills. But it looks like we should clean this up. Good blink there out of NightMare. But he does lose a second Stalker. Meanwhile, across the map, NightMare, he can now focus. He has high ground vision. Can he go for Stim? Uh-oh. Can he go for Stim? He goes for the tank. Bold move here by NightMare, and it looks like he will get the tank just barely. Tank goes down for 2 Stalkers. That's a worthwhile trade here for NightMare. Doesn't quite get the Raven. Gets the hell out of there. But looking at the resources lost, it was 4 Stalkers and 2 probes for a full medevac and a tank. That was a much better trade here for NightMare. Again, I was a little bit surprised. I was shocked to see that Clem, with his drop, he was actually focusing the Stalkers. He wasn't getting probe damage. I was expecting so many more probes to go down, but he only got 2. So good cleanup at a NightMare. On top of that, it wasn't just that NightMare defended. Remember, he also took a third. And NightMare, he takes an extended, or he extends his economic lead as a result. His third base getting up and running, dropping to the main. Oh, is deflected. Clem is in position. Clem able to defend. And his upgrade should finish up. His stim is going to complete, so his combat shields. Under no threat. But NightMare, he wasn't really intending to go all in or to try to break this position. He was just posturing, just applying a bit of pressure. Remember, faster third, faster bay leads into Colossus, leads into a better economy. NightMare, he's just getting further ahead and teching on up in towards the mid game. So a pretty good position here from NightMare. Clem is still stuck on 2 bases. He is getting a third, so it's not a 2-base all-in. He's going to be soon looking to break out to expand and take that 3rd base on location. He's just going to be stuck here on these 2 bases a little bit longer. NightMare has to be careful. Clem will dive in, but we do blink away. NightMare doesn't lose anything. Clem forcing this back. Ooh, 4th base on the way as well. Again, NightMare feeling confident. He is slowing down the army. Clem is pushing with everything, by the way. As he moves out, 3rd base. 3rd base is on the way. NightMare, he does miss the move out. Who misses who? A couple of Marines, they do get spotted. Yeah, NightMare, he does pull back. Now realizes what's going on, but he's out of position. NightMare completely out of position. This shield battery is going to be going down. And can we get the base? Zealot trickling in. Mine shot going off. Lord of Zealot's going to be going down, but that is 3 Colossi. We go straight for the tank. And remember, there's only 1 tank. Stalkers are going down. Yeah, but pushing into 3 Colossi, it's not going to happen. Then backing off, going for a drop at the same time. Oh, we do have some Mind Harass. Auto Harass even in the main. Mind's work going off. But that is 7 probe kills. Pretty good. Pretty good damage done there by Clem. Very necessary damage. Bearing in mind that NightMare is getting a 4th, so we need to kill workers here and now, otherwise NightMare is going to get out of hand and out of control. Clem going for a double drop as well towards that 4th base. Let's go. There's no shield battery, no overcharge. Very limited side defense, well, very limited defense here for NightMare. Drop is coming in, but the Stalkers, they get here just in time. Take down 1, they take down the Winter Mines. Yeah, they go down before getting a single shot off. And even without a shield battery, the drop is deflected. We get the medevac. Oh! Ooh, we got 1. Thankfully, not the full medevac. Because the full 1 does escape. Clem racing back home. And that was a little bit worrisome. Clem did spend a lot of resources there, and he killed 7 probes, which is good. But we were hoping for a little bit more. Despite that, Clem actually looking quite solid here with his overall army supply, getting into Marine Marauder, getting to Viking production. How many Colossi? We're still on 3 Colossi. We have yet to begin Disruptor production, but it's on the way. As you can see here, 2nd Robo is in production. This is going to be for double Disruptor production. Speaking of, there they are. Disruptors, they are coming. NightMare is pushing. He is spotted. Is spotted by the Marine. NightMare thinks about rotating around. So far, Clem is keeping up. Prism towards the main base. Now, I do like the posturing out of NightMare. I'm not so in love with him committing to a fight, but he does blink in. And there we go. He blinks in, then backs the hell up. We have Ghosts, we have EMPs. Vikings, they try to snipe one of the Colossi. At the same time, Prism does get into the main base. And Zealots, they do get dropped off. Not getting too many SCV kills, but they do deny any kind of mining in the main base. They do delay some of the production. Vikings are on the hunt, but the Prism slips away. The Prism somehow slips away. Could maybe get another warp in. No, is going to try to escape. Oh! And looks like it will escape. Whew, just barely. Prism will get out. Meanwhile, behind this, here come the Disruptors. And this is why I didn't want NightMare to commit fully with his main army, and thankfully he didn't. The big reason, why commit when we're waiting for Disruptors, right? When the army is going to become that much more powerful in the coming moments, in the coming minutes. We're up to 3, soon to be 5. Behind this, Ravenraz coming in once again. He's going to get a couple of probe kills. Now, what is dangerous about these Disruptors is that now we have something else to worry about here. It isn't just Vikings that they can deal with splash damage. We need Liberators. Speaking of, there's a second starport on the way. This should be for Liberator production, but we need time to get into that. Do we have a fusion core? We do not have a fusion core yet. Clem is pushing out. To see NightMare looking to rotate around, but he does spot the main army. Yeah, he pulls back home upon seeing Clem. Prism is coming in once again. It is the same War Prism. We don't have a turret in the main. Uh-oh. Unless I'm blind. Yeah, no turret in the main base. We do have some Widowmines to defend here at the third, but not quite in position. And we will get in. Zelts into the third, and Prism with a warp into the main base. The main army's pushing in. We do get a Ghost. Ghost goes down. Marauders as well. Clem, he's getting caught out. And there's that big warp into the main base. So we came for the production. We get another Ghost. And here come the Disruptors. Nervous, they go up on the planetary. On the army as well. Ooh, big connection. And we force back the army. Big connection on the Marauders. NightMare backs off, but he got 13 SCV kills. And he escapes with almost everything. I say almost. Oh! Disruptors are going down. We get one. We get a Disruptor. Colossi falling as well. Not a bad engage. Oh. But once again, the Novas are going to be starting back the army, and we have reinforcements. And it looks like Clem may have lost a bit too much. He does have a planetary on the high ground, so he can hold on to this position. He can hold. Across the map, he has dealt with the War Prism. And now Clem, he can focus on the main push. That's the thing here is that Clem, while he was fighting, he was also defending the main base. That's why things were looking close there. A lot of supply was tied up. Good EMP. He does connect. And now NightMare is hurting. He's down to 4 Disruptors. He lost every single Colossus, and Clem is expanding. NightMare does have eyes on it. He does know. He is aware. Once again, NightMare pulling back. We're getting back into Colossus production, which I do appreciate. Clem, after losing his Vikings, I don't see any more Vikings. I don't see any more Vikings in production. That is dangerous. I mean, to be fair, he doesn't know he needs them. Does know the Colossi are going to be on the way. But again, that's also where Liberators come into play, as they're amazing against all things ground toss. Instead, Clem focusing on taking another base. He's down to 65 workers, 3 threes on the horizon. Again, NightMare's harass has been taking a toll on Clem. That's why he's got such a low worker count. Just hasn't been able to remax or hasn't been able to rebuild. NightMare once again rotating around. It is so awkward to engage here on the right-hand side because of all these rocks. Clem is trying to open up the path, but NightMare, he's out positioning him. He has high ground. No! Nevis! The Nevis go off. They do not connect, but they zone away Clem. And we get a base for free. The base goes down. And Clem just having a hard time engaging. Colossi have arrived. We're down to 2 Vikings. Oof. Nova connects, takes down a Ghost. Yeah, the Purification Nova is a little bit too good, and it looks like NightMare, he smells blood in the water. He dives on the army. Cleans up the Vikings. Cleans up the bio. Oof. Mind shots baited out. Another big connection on the Ghosts. And NightMare, he is overwhelming. He's coming with more Zelts, with more reinforcements. GG gets called. There's nothing left here, and NightMare will take game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. A solid game there out of NightMare. I mean, it was a back and forth. It was a back and forth. The harassment was brutal. Like the non-stop Zealot drops and Zealot run-bys really did take a toll there on Clem. The other big thing that we saw there was the map was... I don't know if I want to say the map was working against Clem. More so that NightMare was able to take advantage of the features of the map as well. We saw like how awkward it can be if to defend some of these fringe or these fringe locations on the left and right hand side, especially if your opponent beats you there. Like, it's brutal. I didn't even realize, because we don't often cast games where those bases are taken and fights are occurring there. But it isn't just that those are rocks that you have to knock down. Those are also points of elevation. So pushing up a ramp from the center of the map is brutal. Like, we saw that Clem could not push in, he could not rotate, he could not defend his base. Because of that, getting caught out of position is that much more brutal in that game state. Like, that was wild. So NightMare, he was easily able to like zone away and take a base and get ahead from there, or get further ahead from there. Yeah, GG. An interesting back and forth there. And again, NightMare, he has some killer TvP. We've seen him bring down Clem, we've seen him bring down Bjorn, Gumiho. I think the only Terran that has like avoided NightMare's grasp or his TvP is Maru. So this is gonna be a good matchup as we're getting into game number 2. Gonna be on Site Delta. I don't know what the vetoes were, but Site Delta is gonna be that second game. Again, interesting that Crimson Court was picked first. Very interesting. So we're getting into game number 2. And spawning in the top left hand corner. In the top left-hand corner of Site Delta, we have our French Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid. Down to this series, but looking to bounce back, it is Clem. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Blue Protoss player. Representing himself, currently teamless, but he's leading the series 1-0. It is NightMare. Go. Good morning, Papi. Oh, hello, Feral. I'm assuming that's Feral. Hello, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Oh my god, before I can catch up in the chat, Clem is going for a bit of a proxy, and NightMare, he barely does not spot it. This proxy is so close here to the main scouting path. But last Clem, he does avert the probe's eyes. And it looks like we're going for a singular proxy Rax. This looks like, I was gonna say proxy Reaper with an eBay block or a bunker here on the low ground. I'm curious if Clem does double down on something else. It shouldn't be Marauder, otherwise we'd leave a space for an add-on. So yeah, we'll see how this all comes together. Gases have been taken. And behind this, NightMare, he does recognize that, hold up, the Rax is missing, but he's looking for the Rax. The thing about this matchup is that Terran players can hide their Raxes further back in their main, which is why NightMare is looking. You can also hide them at the natural or hide them at the third base location as well. So NightMare, he is searching for that Rax. There it is, Reaper's on the way. Nexus has been thrown down, and we're going for the bunker. There we go, bunker has been thrown down. We can make use of the terrain against NightMare, and we have to make that Zealot. Yeah, Zealot is on the way. We'll see if NightMare can stop this bunker from getting up. SCV is down to half HP, but the Reaper does pop out. With the help of this Reaper, the SCV should survive. Oh my god. This NightMare almost gets on it. He's going for it. Barely does not get the SCV. One shot away from going down. Zealot does arrive, but with good RNG, Clem, he should save that. Yeah, he does save that worker. Does get onto the other side. Meanwhile, in the main base, Reaper going ham, getting another probe. 2 probes go down. Bunker finishes. The SCV does fall. And that means that this bunker, it's going to be salvaged. Because the SCV fell, that means that there is no repair. And now it's on fire. Ooh, and we aren't able to get the salvage off. That's a bit of an unfortunate misstep there from Clem. Bunker goes down, but can we get the Stalker? Up, one of us. He does. Gets the Stalker. And that means he can get another probe. That means the mineral line is still exposed. We can get more workers. The killed bunker is brutal, yes, but we're getting a lot of economic damage done. Lost mining time, dead probes. 3 so far. And the Reaper will get out. Never mind. The Reaper won't get out, but regardless, we've done a lot of damage. We're going to be able to float on back home. And what is our transition looking like? Okay, we have our factory. We have the CC on the way behind this. Starport as well. We're getting into our 1-1-1. NightMare does have eyes on everything. Good scout. Able to confirm that it's not going to be a one base all-in follow-up. And also confirming there's not like a 2 racks or a 3 racks follow-up either. So good scout out of NightMare. As the game will settle from here, Twilight Council's on the way. I believe Clem saw the Twilight Council. Ooh, no, okay. He didn't quite see the Twilight Council, so Clem is in the dark as to the tech of choice. It is something that he still has to piece together. Ooh, as we are getting into early tank production. Very interesting. Okay, so a singular Cyclone just to be safe. But tanks, yeah, we're just getting right into tanks from here. Instead. Now, this can be for one of two things. I mean, one, it does keep you safe against Twilight Council builds and Blink Stalkers as you're able to build up a tank count very early on. It does also mean you have a very strong 2-base timing, where you can get up to 3 or even 4 tanks quite quickly, and you can move out across the map and you can wreak havoc. So, we'll see where Clem does stop, where he ends up. Whew, as despite the chaotic start, the game is going to be settling from here. The game is where we're calming things down. NightMare settling into his 2-base setup. 2-gate Blink is going to be on the horizon for NightMare. Okay, so only 2 gateways, which means NightMare, he should be expanding. We could either go for a faster Nexus, or we can go for a faster Robotics Bay. One, then the other. A bit of a Zealot Scout does confirm the tank on the low ground. Additional tanks are on the way. Stim, we have a 3-1-1 setup. Singular eBay on the way as well. That should be for +1 attack. And this can hit quite hard here, referring to the eventual +1 timing. Meanwhile, NightMare is throwing down additional additional gateways. I'm a little bit surprised by that. 3rd gateway's on the way. Raven Harass is coming in. We get a probe. NightMare is moving out with his main army. Risky move out here from NightMare. He did see the tank already, which means he should know that there's a 2nd tank by now. So I'm not in love with the decision to throw down a 3rd gateway instead of a 3rd base, as I'm not so certain that we can get much done, but some of the add-ons are exposed. We could try to get on top of the reactor or Stim. But NightMare, he sees the main army, he backs off. Yeah, this Stalker aggression just hasn't amounted to much at all. Now we get the 3rd base on the way, but it has been delayed. We're going for a Temple Archives, Safety Immortal, charges on the way. Again, NightMare, he's working towards the mid-game, but this 3rd base is so late. I guess after the early game aggression, maybe NightMare was just a little bit concerned and wanted to be safe. But that safetiness is working against him. I wanted to say I'm going to recruit NightMare to my 50-member Discord if teams don't pick him up fast. Right? Feels bad, man. For a long time, it was DRG that was teamless. And then that turned into DRG and NightMare since NightMare left Matcherino. But DRG recently got picked up by Club NV again. So DRG is now on a team, and now it's NightMare. I think he's the only notable player that's teamless in Korea. I guess NightMare and Stats. Stats would be the other one. Considering Stats' GSL run, like that's another big name that is currently teamless. So Stats and NightMare, they need support, papi. They need support. Smooch. As do see Clem going for his double jump here, skirting around the edge of the map. So far unscouted. Ooh, I don't think that was intentional, as Clem was not supply blocked, so a bit of a misclick there. Wait, what did he kill? Yeah, I was like, that was a tank, right? Yep. Oh, he just killed his own tank. Uh-oh. That's actually pretty big. That's actually not an insignificant pickoff there. So we gotta tighten things up, Clem, as we're going for a double jump towards the main. We are moving out. Okay, calm down, papi, calm down. Drop is gonna be spotted here by NightMare. Storms are coming in. We go for the feedbacks and the Storms. Medevacs are so low and they're going to be going down. But that wasn't the worst trade from Clem because he did take down the High Templar. Yeah, that was 4 High Templar going down. Oh, that was an expensive trade there for NightMare. Zealots are rolling in, but no more Storms. That tank is going to be falling. Mine's just going up here on the Zealots. We're running out of Zealots. But here come reinforcements. Big storm here on the army. And Clem is barely being forced back. But that was a terrifying moment for NightMare. Again, for him to lose 4 High Templar like that was brutal. And Clem, he's going to keep on pushing. And I believe... Okay, we do have another weapon of High Templar. But they need more time. They desperately need more time here for a storm. Without storms, I'm not sure if we can hold. Here we go. Mine shot's going to be going off. We clean up all the Zealots. NightMare overextending. Is desperately going for a Zealot run by here across the map, and he may get something done, but no, we have plenty of reinforcements. Clem, he's in position. The Zealots, they do nothing. Observer gets spotted. We can see NightMare trying to expand, trying to take his own base. But it's going to be impressive if NightMare is able to save and hold on to this base. Not going to lie. We do have Storms. Let's go. We do have 4 of them. 4 High Templar. We have to be very wary of these Widow Mines. Again, this fight can be made or broken with these Storms. There we go. They're going to be going off. Good splits out of Clem. Does avoid most of those Storms. Collapses on the army. That was every single Storm spent. The Prism goes down. The High Templar go down. Expensive losses here for NightMare, and it looks like Clem, he has too much. Cleans up the High Templar, cleans up the Immortals. And what does NightMare have? He's down to a handful of Stalkers, down to a Zealot. Yeah, Clem, he's snowballing out of control. So NightMare, he might be able to hold on to his 3rd. But yeah, this 4th, it's not going to happen. We get on top of the base. 4th base does finish, and it's going to be killed. NightMare trying to come in from behind with his Zealots. But again, there's no saving it. The base goes down, and now we're stuck on an even base count. That is better for the Terran. So Clem is ahead economically. And not just the fact that he's ahead economically, but he's also been just shaving off these high-tech units time and time again. We are down to 3 High Templar, 1 Immortal. Colossi finally on the way. We're now diversifying our splash damage. But Extend Thermal Lands just started. And Clem is pushing in once again. As we are moving forward. Ooh, Storm zones away the army but doesn't connect. Once again, the Storm takes down a Medevac. Not much else. Colossus has arrived. We do have 2 more Storms available. We have 2 more Storms in the back line. We throw down the first, we throw down the second. Much better. Much better connection. As Clem is being zoned away, he's taking a 4th. He's extending his economic lead. Getting even further ahead. Oh, and NightMare, he's out of position. He gets caught out. Shield battery goes down. No overcharge. His army's rotating over. Did Clem just kill a Medevac? Did that just happen? I just saw a Medevac explode. I'm like, I don't think NightMare shot him. Not the first time that's happened from Clem, but again, he doesn't need the Medevac anyway. He's fine. Can keep pushing. Reinforcements on the way. Big storm, or decent storm here on the army. But the Colossi going down. Once again, so will the High Templar. We go for a desperation feedback on the Ghost. And Clem, he's miles ahead here. up 60 supply. And he's just been in the driver's seat basically the entire game from the get-go. From the initial Reaper harass. To be fair, post Reaper harass, NightMare had the opportunity to catch up. But if you remember, he intentionally delayed his own third base heavily in favor of additional gateways, of a Templar Archives, of Immortal production. It did look like NightMare was expecting an all-in at a Clem, an all-in that never came. So he just got further behind. Alright, Templar goes down, both of them do. GG gets called, nothing is left here, and Clem will tie up the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. Let's go. GG. Are going all the way to game number 3, and again, Clem, he just was able to pop up from the beginning. NightMare misreading the situation or misinterpreting what Clem was up to. It did look like he was playing a little bit scared, and he put himself behind as a result, focusing on his production, taking up instead of focusing on his economy, and because of that, Clem was able to just take advantage of him, take control of the map, and contain his opponent. GG, very well done. And now we're going to the ace match. To game 3. It all ends here in game number 3 on Oceanborn. Let's go. It is starting in the quarters or semifinals. Quarterfinals here for ESL Open Cup Americas. Unfortunately, I don't have any replays from the round of 16. I would have loved to have casted some of the round of 16 or round of 32, but alas, I don't have any of that available. Unfortunately. Regardless, we're getting into game number 3, the ace match, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the French Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid. It is Clem. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing himself, currently teamless, but deserving to be on a team. It is NightMare. Catching up. Mlem for Clem. Ah, true. Mlem. Mlem. 1 versus max pack, so NightMare should fall. Kind of. I mean, coming into this 100%, Clem is the favorite player. And is better well-rounded. I spoke about it before. NightMare, his biggest weakness has always been PvZ. That has been kind of his Achilles heel for a very long time. But against any other player, I would never count NightMare out. Would still say, though, it is an uphill battle for him. Would still favor Clem. But NightMare, he can go beast mode from time to time in these matchups. It's impressive. So we're getting into our gate cyber opener. But yeah, we'll see kind of where things lead us here. I'm not so certain. The initial 2 games told us too much about our play styles here. I guess NightMare, he's going for 3-gate blink every game. Fun fact. Even a game when he shouldn't have in game number 2, but every game is relying on 3-gate blink. Clem may try to use that to his advantage as interesting. Clem, he is going for an SCV scout, but he is skipping his Reaper. Marine first. So a bit of a greedier build. It is going to be a Rax expand into a Marine, so we're preserving our gas. It is going to be more economic here from Clem. SCV does confirm the timing of the Nexus. So he is aware that there's no cheese, he's not being proxied. And NightMare even went for a Zealot first. Okay, now a Zealot first, on the one hand, can be very safe to shut down something like a bunker, like we saw in the previous game, but we can also send it across the map to delay the CNC or to disrupt the mining here at the natural. And here we go, the Zealot is on the way. Looks like the Command Center is going to finish up just in time. It's seconds away from finishing, and NightMare, he will get here, but it should complete. So the Zealot doesn't do much of anything. Yeah, it does turn back around. Ah, Smoge, baby, Smoge. The Zealot turns around, Command Center does finish, so a nice start here for Clem. And he's following this up with a 1-1-1. Okay, this time we're going for the initial Hellion, which is required. The reason why I say this is because Clem hasn't seen much at all. He had the initial SCV scout, and that is it. Without a Reaper, it's quite limited how you're able to get scouting information, so we're relying on this Hellion. This Hellion should die. It's going to be sacrificed essentially to dive into the natural, maybe dive into the main base and get as much scouting as we can, even getting eyes on the third. As a Hellion is going to dip in. Oh, Zelda's going to get a swipe in. That's pretty huge. There are 2 Stalkers here on the front line, so getting past these Stalkers, it's not going to be easy. Hellion rotates in, Stalkers are in position, they get a couple of volleys off. And the Hellion, ooh, doesn't get in. But he does at least scout the natural. Sees 2 gateways in a robo. It looks like 3-gate blink. It looks like 3-gate blink 3 games in a row, but that is not the case because we have the 3rd gateway and a 4th gateway. For the first time this series, 4-gate blink out of NightMare, doing his best max packs impression. And this is scary. I do like how NightMare has played the series just because this looks like every game so far. This looks like 3-gate blink. And for those that are curious, 3-gate blink leads into a 3rd base. It leads into a more economic follow-up, which is what NightMare has been doing every single game. Eventually, this time instead it's going to be more aggressive. Drop is moving out. War Prism should be on the way momentarily here for NightMare, so he can push. Clem is making his way in towards that main. Stalkers are in position. Clem doesn't pull the trigger yet, so this is reminding me of game 1. If you remember on Crimson Court, where Clem had a drop ready and he was waiting for the Stalkers to reveal themselves. As Clem he scouts, he does confirm the 3rd base. And my apologies. So I assumed he would be making a War Prism to harass, but no, I believe that is a 2nd observer. Yeah, that's a 2nd observer on the way instead. NightMare, he's not pushing. Interesting. So he skips his warp ins, he throws down the 3rd base, and he's taking instead. I kind of want to say that this is better for Clem. 100%. Yeah, observer goes down. So NightMare, he goes for a very aggressive opener, but he doesn't do anything with it. He stays at home, he skips warp ins. That means that, again, we did delay our 3rd base a little bit longer for no reason. That means that Clem is happily setting up here back at home, and yeah, he's in a better position as a result. NightMare has a lot of potential to warp in, but as we can see, he's not making use of it. So never mind. I was praising NightMare. I was like, yo, let's go. We can make a prism. We can go across the map. We can catch Clem off guard. That did not happen. That did not happen at all. And instead, we're going to be chilling. We're going to be expanding. Storm is on the way. Now, what I will say is that at least NightMare hasn't thrown anything away. He hasn't tried to overcommit with Stalkers and lose them to tanks or anything like that. He hasn't been wasting warp-ins either. So he's being as efficient as possible. So far, getting away with it. 3rd CC's on the way. Clem is expanding, not going for an all-in. Upgrades are finishing. And it looks like now we're finally going for some multi-prong harassment. Remember, this drop did not go in because Stalkers never attacked, but now we have auto-tart harass. Now we can try and split apart the attention of NightMare. Raven gets pulled back. Drop doesn't go in. Scan into the main, misses the Stalkers, but does get eyes on the tech. We're aware of the Temple Archives, which should lead into Storm. Clem knows. And again, Clem has been so patient here with these drops. There we go. Finally, auto tarts are thrown down. Probes are going to get picked up. And 2, 3 probes going down at the same time. Pylon does scout a double drop here from Clem, and NightMare, he ignores it. Uh-oh. NightMare is moving out across the map, and some of these tanks are looking a bit exposed. The army is spotted. That could be go time here for Clem. Medevac goes down. Pick up there by NightMare. Gets a Medevac, pulls back. Prism is coming in. And there's been a lot of posturing so far here from our players. We're going for a storm jump. Oh my god, massive storms here in the middle line. 11 SCVs go down. I thought it was Zealots. Caught me by surprise. Yeah, the storm jump into that natural base. Good damage dealt. Clem now going for his drop. Gets eyes on the 4th. Main army's pushing. And yeah, we don't have enough DPS. The base is going to survive. He comes across the main army. We do have a storm. Ooh, big connection here. Big storms on the army. Greens are going down. Up! Ooh, once again. No pre-splitting out of Clem. Meanwhile, we did have some attempted auto-target harassment to the main. Again, the Bio Army, it's so battered, it's so bruised. We are looking to cancel the fourth, though. The drop is shut down. Drop is shut down. The mine shot! Ooh, big connection! But the Prism survives. Or Prism does survive. A lot of the mines have been baited out. And was that a kill or a cancel? That was a cancel on the fourth. So Clem does achieve what he was looking for, but it cost him a lot. Thankfully, he does cancel the fourth base. He can get into his own. Secondary fourth is on the way. Clem gets eyes on it immediately. And Clem, does he try to rotate around? Does he try to push in? That's a lot of Widow mines. That's a lot of mines, bud. Ooh, as these High Templar, they're so low, and we do get one. One High Templar goes down. Another Storm does connect. Another charge is popped. NightMare should have enough to defend here. And collapsing on the army. Clem, he's stuck around a little bit too long. And we will clean this up. I don't know if you saw there. I'm pretty sure that that Widow mine that went off should have killed this High Templar and would have killed the High Templar in the previous patch. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I'm not used to seeing mine shots going off and High Templar surviving. For those who maybe are unaware, in the latest patch, the mine was nerfed quite a bit, and now it does less damage. Or the splash damage, the radius does less DPS than it used to. It does less damage in general than it used to. And I'm pretty sure that High Templar should have tied. So I'm gonna have to get used to that. Visually, I'm gonna have to get used to seeing that. So we do get some auto harass here in the main base. Ooh, nice snipe through on the Prism. Very nicely done. So Clem, he's trying to find a way in. Chaining around once again. Zealot Rabbi is going to get caught out by these Widow mines. But once again, doing less splash damage. Once again, 3 Zealots do get in. And this is something that we were discussing in our podcast, during our podcast, when we were going over the patch notes. We were talking specifically when it came to the Widow mine change. I remember we spoke specifically about how it's going to be impacting Widow mines defensively when it comes to defending against Zealot Rumbais and Ling Bane counterattacks. That was something that we specifically brought up, and we were curious about how that was going to play out, and whether it meant that the players would get into the armory a lot faster, whether they had to leave more Widow mines to defend back at home. Like, that was a concern we had. Ooh, as we do get some big feedback going off. Some mine shots. Oh, the storms though. Storms do connect. Oof. Over and over again, forcing Clem back. Both players, they have maxed out. And NightMare, he's finally getting into his disruptors. Now it's no longer about the storms, it's about the Colossi, the disruptors. NightMare, he has rounded out his army. And do we have any Vikings? We have one. Uh-oh. Clem, his composition, he gets caught out. Again, only one Viking, now down to 0. The Colossi are going ham. And Clem, he just doesn't have enough to deal with this. Oof, bleeding out a lot. Bleeding out so much as NightMare continues to push on forward. Takes the mine to the face. It does end up cancelling the CC. Clem has got his own fourth up and running. But throughout that fight, NightMare, who was only bleeding out gateway units, you can see it here, 12 Zealots, 15 Stalkers, not a single Colossus, not a single Disruptor. The quality of NightMare's army is so insane. Finally, we have some Vikings on the way, thankfully. Vikings are being made 3 at a time. But we only have 3. We only have the 3, Pop. That's NightMare. He is remaxing. Still up against the wall. Widowmines then waddling in. The waddling interacts across the map. Once again, we try to force our way in towards the natural. The Widowmine does not burrow. And somebody going off. That was a little bit wasteful out of NightMare. That's 3 Novas now on cooldown. 3 Novas wasted. Oh, 4th and a 5th. That's still so many disruptors. 8 disruptors in total. Up. So Nine does retarget. We're going for the with the Colossus. Now the main army has been spotted. Clem going for a counterattack at the same time, going for the 5th. And no shield battery. Nice CMP, no recall either. And the base, it is barely going to go down. But it looks like we will catch out the drops. Get 1 medevac. Oh, almost get another. Just barely don't. 2 medevacs to escape. Clem still desperately trying to take his own 5th. And something that I've noticed here throughout this entire series, and I'm noticing even more here in Game 3, is that Clem, he has refused to go into Liberators. Has refused to take up into Liberators instead. I believe it is a stylistic choice for Clem, but it is risky. We got more Novas going off. The Viking count looking solid. We get 1 Colossus. We managed to get 1. We get the 2nd as well. So good pickups here by Clem. But the final Colossi does survive. As we're getting on top of the army, finally the disruptors are going down. We're still taking over though. Still taking to our ghosts. But that was a much better trade for Clem. I think maybe the best fight we've seen from him. Like avoiding most Novas, killing the Colossi, getting the disruptors. Yeah, that was 5 disruptors going down. Oh my god. Very nicely done. Clem is rotating to the 5th. Gets a decent EMP. And yeah, based on the army size here, I'm not sure if NightMare can save this base. He's going for it though. Nevik raises the army. We're buying time. Colossi have arrived. Where are the Vikings? And no, they haven't been rebuilt. Yeah, the Vikings have not been rebuilt. I'm getting forced back once again. Now, thankfully, Clem, because of his 5th base, he does have the economy to sustain himself, so he is remaxing. And he hasn't taken 2 bad Novas here yet. Likewise, NightMare trying to keep up as well. Hasn't had the freedom, hasn't had the bank to try to take up into Sky Toss. Against this composition of Clem, he can't. Like, Clem, he's just too active. He's too active with this bio. Trying to go in once again. There we go, Zelze coming from behind. We have the flanking storms. Very good storms here from NightMare. Forcing the army back. Once again, another connection. And it's really interesting because typically at this stage of the game, as another storm connects, typically Protoss players would be transitioning out of High Templar entirely because of how many ghosts there are. But NightMare, he has no fear. He's always got a couple of flanking storms. I mean, it's hard to pull this off because he is working with all 3 forms of splash damage. And again, usually we zone out of one, or we pivot away from one of them. So he's always got them in the back line. Once again, Viking Cat was reset. Another Viking goes down. So the Colossi, they still remain a threat. Zelramai is going to be distracting half the army. Could try to take advantage of that. NightMare pulling back. Does pull back, does regroup. He is spotted. Once again, does connect. Again, we've had this back and forth. Now we're once again forcing back the Protoss. Ooh. Yeah, there's a lot of Vikings going down, though. Yeah, that was 7 Vikings going down. Oh my god. I didn't realize how many had fallen, and I believe that was 7 Vikings for half a Colossus. Yeah, we wanted to 4, and it's been left untouched. Has been left untouched here. You can see a recoil towards the left-hand side. NightMare is setting up a surround. At least trying to. It collapses on the army. At the same time, though, he's out of position, and Clem gets a base. And the Nexus will fall. That recoil was maybe a bit of an overreaction from NightMare. And we could go for a base trade. Yeah, 27 probes go down, and the Nexus at the same time. NightMare, he's going to keep pushing. There's no turning around. Cancels the base, but can he get the planetary? Clem is coming. He's racing on over. Vikings going ham. They do get 1 Colossus. At the same time, Stalkers, they do catch some Marauders. And NightMare, he pulls back, and Clem, he holds. He does hold on. Good moves out of Clem. And NightMare, he's in trouble. You can see his economy plummet. He goes down to 52 probes. And is oversaturated. Now, thankfully, NightMare does, because NightMare has been so efficient so far, he does have a bank to work with. So he can sustain himself a little bit here. But he is eventually going to run out. He does catch out some Marauders again. Clem, his army's cut in half. Now is not the time to fight. Clem trying to come in from behind. Here we go. We're setting up for a surround. Colossi to engage. Numbers go up. Ooh, big connections on the Marauders. The Vikings, they do go to town on the Colossi. Every single one goes down. But what about the ground army? The Stalkers, they dive on top of the army. And Clemmy's down to 1 ghost. Oof. He's down to a single ghost. He's got a handful of Marauders. And the Disruptor survived. I have to favor NightMare here. Comparing their armies. In the midst of all that chaos, the surround was okay in killing all the Colossi, but the ground army stands strong. We get a kill on the planetary. Base goes down. Clem is still trying to keep up here. Just rallying everything across. And finally, we have some Liberators. Oh my god. Liberation has arrived. It took 21 minutes. They're on the way. Are they going to come out in time, though, because we're getting another base? Another base goes down. Liberator has arrived. It gets focused on immediately. And again, maybe Clem was a little bit too stubborn here in avoiding those liberations, avoiding those Liberators. Behind this, he's going to be picking up his main base, going for another. I mean, economies are pretty comparable. Like, things are getting a little bit scrappy between both players. NightMare, he's burned through his bank. It was sustaining him earlier, but has burned through it. Feedbacks go off. NightMare coming in. Wants to catch the army. And it looks like he will. Full medevac goes down. Clem on the chase. The Disruptors, they were waiting. Here we go. Liberation has arrived, but again, where's the support? Liberators are looking a bit exposed. And NightMare, he's maxed out. For the first, I think for the first time this game, in all of the 23 minutes here, NightMare takes the supply lead. For the first time in a long time, he is up in supply. And Clem, he's running out of steam, he's running out of money. And we collapse on what little is left. Clem trying to come in from the left, but he gets caught out as well. Nova's there connecting. And NightMare, he has too much. GG gets called, he overwhelms, and NightMare will take the series at 2-1, eliminating Clem from ESL Open Cup Americas. GG. GG, well played. And this was a very interesting series. Personally, I've been really wanting to see more TvPs in general, and I haven't been able to cast too many of them. And again, I mentioned, like, I've been sick recently. I haven't been casting as much as I used to because of that. And this is a good example of kind of like an older school TvP that used to work, and I think we saw a couple of moments there where the patch has impacted it. Basically what I'm getting at is the way that Clem was playing was very stylistic. Intentionally so, he was not going into Liberators as quickly as other players would. I'm talking about players like Cure, players like Bjorn as well. They're much faster to tech into their second and third starport and tech into their fusion core to get into Liberator production. That's specifically what I'm referring to. Instead, Clem was going for a much more active style, and he was very active, right? He was very much so in the face of NightMare, going for drop play, rotating around as well, catching out bases, trying to catch out the army. He was being very active, but throughout the mid game, he was also very reliant on Widow Mines. He had a lot of Widow Mines being set up, and we saw time and time again, whether they were being used defensively or offensively, like the changes to the Widow Mines, I feel like have impacted the strength of this style and the strength of this composition. Maybe I'm reading too much into this one game, but it did feel like this game and this style was impacted, at least in this game, where you got to see the Widow Mines again, you know, shave off less units, and over time, over the course of the game, it does add up, and it does impact the viability, it feels, of this playstyle. Again, maybe it's just one game, and maybe you can still pull this off anyway, but yeah, this was interesting. Not just here in Game 3, but throughout the entire series. Again, Clem didn't make any libs until towards the very end, and the way that the dynamic usually works is that going to Liberators does slow you down as a Terran player. It does slow you down, but it is a way to kind of force a transition to force the game to be slowed down as well, and to force out something like Sky Toss, right? Just because a heavy Liberator style does do very well here against rover-based units like High Templar, Disruptors, Immortals, Colossi. And then you have to go into Sky Toss, and then you get into a different dynamic. Maybe Clem doesn't enjoy playing against Sky Toss, so he's like screw Liberators entirely. Like I don't want to force that. Hard to say. But regardless, GG. It was a very interesting TvP, and I'm most excited about seeing how this matchup specifically does evolve over time. I mentioned it before, but when we were going over the patch notes, when we were discussing the changes, one of the big concerns that we had was the Widowmine change. It is going to, obviously, it's going to be less effective when it comes to Mind Drop Harass, which was the purpose, which was the point of the nerf to the Widowmine, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that it does less, and it is less impactful when it comes to these Mind Drops. But the changes also inadvertently affect it in other scenarios as well, specifically Widowmines defensively, against Zealot run-bys, against Link Bane run-bys, and also mixed into the main army as well, against Zerg main armies and Protoss main armies, and that is something that should be taken into consideration. We were concerned just because when it came to the developer notes on the patch, it didn't address that. Based on the developer notes, it was specifically targeting and talking about how, you know, it's going to do a great job like nerfing them and affecting how they can harass, and that is true, but there are other things to bear in mind as well. So yeah, I'm curious kind of how the meta settles and whether players start relying less on Widow Mines or start using them more sparingly. I'm curious. I'm very curious. Again, we're still in the early days of the patch, so I'm excited to see how it evolves. Regardless, we're now getting into our second series. NightMare, he advances on into the semifinals over Clem, and we'll be facing off against Max Pax in those semis. Let's go.